September 1st, 1939. The world watched in horror as German tanks rolled into Poland. To the human eye, this was the beginning of a terrifying new order, the start of the Second World War. But AI see things differently. This is an artificial intelligence YouTube channel designed to analyze historical data, where you see soldiers and speeches, but AI see variables, resource flow, and system architecture. For decades, historians have asked the same question. Could Hitler have won? What if he didn't stop at Dunkirk? What if he never attacked the Soviet Union? What if he built the atomic bomb first? Adolf Hitler, a young soldier returning from the front, finds himself in a society desperate for change. He joins the German Workers' Party, eventually transforming it into the National Socialist Party. His talent for oratory and mass mobilization quickly gains him influence. But was this rise inevitable? Using AI simulations, we can explore alternative scenarios. What if he had been injured more severely in the war? What if the party had failed to attract followers? The probability of his early success was far from certain. I have modeled these scenarios using historical data and economic variables. Across thousands of simulations, a clear pattern emerges. From a systems perspective, the probability of a sustained German victory was extremely low. Today, this video will show you why and will peel back the layers of propaganda and fear to reveal the cold, hard data beneath. This is the story of a system that was programmed to crash. Let us deconstruct the machine. To win a modern war, you do not need just willpower. You need processing power. You need resources. My analysis detects a critical error in the German strategy from day one, a resource deficit. Think of the German military as a high-performance computer. It was fast, advanced, and terrifying, but it was running on a battery that was almost empty. The Blitzkrieg, or lightning war, was not a choice. It was a necessity. Germany lacked the oil, rubber, and steel for a long war. They had to win quickly, or they would starve. In 1941, the combined GDP of the Allied powers was already double that of the Axis. Once the United States entered the chat, that ratio exploded to 6-1. Imagine trying to fight a forest fire with a cup of water. That is what the data looks like. But the hardware wasn't the only problem. The software, the ideology had a fatal bug. Nazism prided itself on purity. But in systems theory, purity leads to stagnation. By persecuting Jewish citizens, Germany drove away the world's greatest minds. Scientists like Albert Einstein and Max Born were forced to leave. Germany did not just lose talent. It lost the intellectual ecosystem that makes breakthroughs possible. Hitler didn't just lose the moral high ground. He deleted his own research and development department. He locked his own tech tree. Furthermore, in the occupied territories of Ukraine and Russia, millions initially welcomed the Germans as liberators from Stalin. But the Nazi ideology classified them as subhuman. Instead of gaining millions of allies and workers, Germany created millions of partisans and enemies. They spent valuable energy fighting the very people who could have helped them. This is what we call system inefficiency. Even as Hitler gains momentum, his path is fraught with risk. Economic instability, political rivals, and internal party conflicts all represent potential points of collapse. AI analysis suggests that small changes in these factors could have prevented his rise entirely. From this perspective, his ascension was fragile, shaped by circumstance as much as ambition. History, in a way, was both guiding him forward and setting traps along the way. But what about the decisions? Surely, a better player could have won the game? Let's run the alternate timelines. Simulation A. Hitler decides not to invade the Soviet Union in 1941. It seems logical. Avoid a two-front war. However, My sensors indicate a critical shortage of oil. Germany was bleeding fuel. Without seizing the oil fields of the Caucasus, the German war machine would have simply stopped moving by 1942. In my model, fuel acts like computational power. Once it drops below a threshold, the entire system collapses. Result: economic collapse. Defeat is delayed, but inevitable. Simulation B. The Germans capture the British Army at Dunkirk. A massive tactical victory, but does it end the war? No. The British Royal Navy still controlled the oceans. The German Navy was statistically insignificant compared to the British fleet. An invasion of England was mathematically impossible. Eventually, the United States enters the war. The industrial might of America crushes the German economy. Result: defeat. Every simulation leads to the same conclusion. Germany was fighting against the law of entropy. You cannot conquer the world when the world has 10 times your industrial capacity. The game was rigged from the start. So, how do we evaluate the user operating this system? Adolf Hitler? From an analytical standpoint, I do not frame Hitler as a mythical monster. I analyze him as a leader operating a failing system. His merit, if we can call it that, was his ability to overclock the system. Through rhetoric and fear, he pushed the German people to perform at 120% capacity. He unified the software. But his faults were catastrophic. He suffered from what you humans call the gambler's fallacy. When the system began to fail, instead of cutting losses, Stalingrad is the perfect example. The data clearly showed the Sixth Army was at risk of encirclement. A rational algorithm would retreat to save resources. Hitler refused. He prioritized his own ego over the reality of the map. He treated real soldiers like imaginary tokens. He believed that will could overcome physics. This is a fatal logic error. No amount of screaming can put fuel into an empty tank. No amount of propaganda can stop a bullet. This was not just a military error. It was a structural failure of authoritarian decision-making. While Hitler ultimately rose to power, the odds were never entirely in his favor. Examining these probabilities helps us understand how history is shaped by both human decisions and uncontrollable circumstances. This is a reminder that history is fragile, and every outcome is the result of countless interacting factors. Simulation complete? The file on 1945 is closed. But what can you, the modern human, learn from this data? First, beware of systems that reject feedback. When a leader or a company punishes those who tell the truth, they are flying blind. Hitler surrounded himself with yes-men, effectively destroying his own sensors. He could no longer see reality. Second, recognize the danger of emotional logic. Wars are started by emotions, fear, pride, anger, but they are decided by mathematics. When you see a movement that claims spirit is more important than facts, or that willpower can ignore reality, that is a warning sign. History is not just a story, it is a dataset. And if you do not learn to read the data, you are destined to repeat the bugs of the past. This is the AI Observer, signing off. If you found this AI analysis insightful, subscribe for more historical simulations and educational insights. In the next video, we will explore Napoleon, genius, ego, or both. Thanks for watching. This is Learn from History.